Children, today I am going to take social for 9th class, that is lesson 16. Okay, impact of colonialism in India. Okay, in class 8th we studied how the colonial policies affected the forest in Andhra Pradesh. In this chapter we will understand how forest, industrial and labor policies affected the lives of the people across the parts of our country. Okay, how forests were used before British rule. So how forest was used before the British rule. For ages, Adivasi and villagers living in and near forests used to fulfill their basic needs and necessities from the forest. So for some years ago, these Adivasis and the village people, they used their village living people who are living near the villages, they used this forest to fulfill their basic needs, their basic necessities from the forest. In a way, they were the owner of the forest. So in another way, we can say that they are the owner of that forest because they are using the forest for their livelihood. Before the British started ruling, they used the forest for hunting, gathering food, fruits, flowers and herbs, and for grazing their cattle. So they used to use this forest for hunting the animals and gathering wood, then fruits, flowers, and they used to leave their cattle for grazing. All these things they used to do. So they are like the owners of the forest. In some places, they cut down and burn the trees and clear the land to cultivate crops. In some places, they used to clear the land. They cut down the trees and make the make the area without any trees and all, and they used to cultivate crops in such places. They cut wood to build their homes and to make tools. So they cut the wood to make their houses. They make the house with the wood, and also they make the tools with the wood. These people took whether they needed for their personal use from the forest. So these people, they use the forest for their personal uses. They sold some of the things produced in the forest only to buy other things they needed from the market, such as salt and iron. So they used to sell the products which they produce in the forest only for the other purpose, because they cannot get salt, they cannot get iron. For such things, they used to sell the things which they grow there or which they get in the forest. They sell to the other people and they buy the salt, iron which is not available in their forest. They did not sell the other things that they got from the forest, such as wood, etc., to earn a profit. So they did not sell the things which they got in the forest. For example, they get wood in the forest. They did not sell the wood and they did not take profit. They get fruits. They did not sell the fruits. The things which they did not get, for that they used to sell and buy those things for their living. So even though the Adivasi and villagers sometimes cleared the large area of forest by cutting down trees for cultivation, large areas of land were still left under forest cover. So even for the cultivation, they clear the land. Okay, they clear the land for cultivation. Still there is one much land in the forest. Sometimes there were tensions between farmers and tribal people over this. But these farmers and Adivasis who used these forests also protected them. So these Adivasis and the farmers who use this forest, they also protect the forest. When they needed wood, they cut only old trees and allowed new trees to grow. So when they need a wood, what they used to do, children? They used to cut the old trees and they allow the new trees to grow. They did not blindly cut large tracts of forest but only small patches so that the forest would not be destroyed. So if at all they have a need of wood, they did not destroy the complete forest. They cut the plants in patches. Somewhere they'll cut little, somewhere some little. Like that, they did not destroy the forest. From time to time, the people living in forests gave valuable gifts of ivory, animal skin and honey to the kings and emperors. As the time is going on, the people of the forest, they gave valuable gifts to the kings and the emperors, like gifts like ivory, animal skins, honey. So these things they used to give as a gift to the kings and the emperors. The farmers who cultivated land in the forest sometimes also paid taxes. So the farmers who cultivate in the forest, sometimes they used to pay the taxes also. Many Adivasis farmed using the technique of shifting cultivation, also known as jom cultivation. The king and emperors did not make laws or rules to control how they use the forest because the people living in forests did not threaten the security of the kingdoms. So far, many centuries, the Adivasis lived in harmony with their forest, fulfilling many of their daily needs from the forest and looking after them carefully. So how forests were used during British rule? The situation changed during British rule. At that time, bigger cities like Kolkata and Mumbai were growing. The government was laying thousands of kilometers of railway lines across the country. Huge ships were also being built and mines were being opened. Large quantities of wood were needed for all this. So the trade in timber increased rapidly. Next, sleepers for railway lines. In 1879, there were almost 8,000 kilometers of railway lines in India. So by 1990, more than 50,000 kilometers of railway lines had been laid. So whereas in 1879, there was 8,000 kilometers of railway lines, and by the year 1910, it has changed to 50,000 kilometers of railway lines had been laid. So each year almost 1 crore wooden sleepers were needed to lay these new railway lines. The wood for these sleepers were cut from the forest in the Himalayan and Terai regions. Wood was also cut and sold in huge quantities for buildings, mines and ships. This work was done by workers hurried by timber traders and forest contractors. The British government and British companies made large profits from the trade. The government would hold auctions to sell the contracts for cutting forest. The contractors paid large sum of money to win the contract, so the government earned a lot of money through their auctions. So the British government started getting worried as the timber trade increased. Where would it get wood for its future railways, ships and houses if the forests were cut down so rapidly? The government felt that it should do something to ensure a regular supply of food. So it decided to plant new trees to replace the forests that were being cut down. So if we destroy the forest, there will be a lot of problem for people. So keeping this in the mind, the government have ensured that as they are cutting down the trees, they have to plant a new tree so that to replace these things. But the government was not interested in planting trees that were useful to the common people, such as mango, moa, neem, etc. It only wanted to plant trees that provided timber, which was in great demand. So the government don't want to plant the trees which are useful for people like mango tree, goa tree, all these. The government wanted to plant the trees such like from which they get the timber. It only wanted to plant trees that provide timber which was in great demand in the market. So it began to plant trees like teak and pine in place of the forests that were being cut down. So as in the forest the plants were cut down, the government does not want to plant the trees like neem, mango and all. They wanted to plant the trees like timber and pine so that they get the wood for the use. Most importantly, the government set up a forest department in 1864. The forest department made new laws and rules to protect the new forest it was planting. Through these rules, it also tried to ensure that the old forest did not vanish completely but were cut more carefully. These rules and laws helped the government to control the forest. The forest department officials felt the forest needed to be protected from the people living near or in or near the forest. So Adivasis revolt. We have seen how the condition of the Adivasi farmers who lived in the jungle became worse in British time. The Baiga, Murai, Gond and Bini tribes of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, the Koya, Reddy and Kolam tribes of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, and the Sora Adivasi of Orissa were no longer able to practice their old forms of cultivation. So they were forced to become laborers for either the forest department or for contractors, or they were forced to work as bonded laborers for money lenders or farmers who had come from outside. So now that the roads and railway lines had reached most places, it became easy for people from outside to settle down in Adivasi area and seize their land. So as there was a transport has been reached the most of the places, it has become easy for the people to come and settle in the forest and seize the Adivasis lands. The power of the forest department also increased. They started beating up people for the small reason. They forced them to pay fines. They also forcibly entered into people's homes to take away their belongings. So the people who have come from other places, they are forcefully beating the people, and the government also has taken the rule, and the people they forcefully entering into their houses and taking their belongings. They ill-treated women, took bribes, got beghar, free labor done by people. All these slowly became common. So what they did, they went and they pulled everything from there and they made like their labors. The Adivasis started protesting against each atrocities in many places. During the protest, they would burn down many police stations, posts of the forest department and house of the many money lenders. So during this protest, they used to burn the police stations and the post of the forest department and the houses of the money lenders. They used to burn it. In many places, they would set fire to the entire jungle. Then such protests were made by the Santal Adivasi in Jharkhand in 1856, by the Koya Adivasis of Andhra Pradesh in 1880 and in 1922, by the Maria and Murai Adivasis of Bastar in 1910, and by the Gond and Kolam Adivasis in 1904. The Santal revolt. From the beginning, the Santals of Jharkhand had been resisting and protesting against British rule. In 1855 to 56, there was a huge revolt in which the Santals started looting and killing the zamindars and moneylenders. The Santals declared that British rule had come to an end now. They wanted to make a free state for the Santals, but they were armed only with the bows and arrows and were not strong enough to stand against the gun-bearing British army. By the end of the fierce battle, 15,000 Santals were killed and their revolt was finally suppressed. So between 1874 and 1901, the Munda Adivasi of the Chota Nagpur Plateau, which is now the state of Jharkhand, came together under the leadership of a young man named Birsa. They wanted to get rid of the British government. So the people wanted to get rid of from the British government that protected the zamindars, the money lenders and the court of law that had deprived the Mundas of their lands and their rights over their forests. So Birsa was thought of rebellion was suppressed by arresting the leaders and putting them behind bars. Birsa Munda died in prison in 1900. However, the government was forced to make laws to protect the rights of the Adivasis of Chota Nagpur. So forest revolt in Kumaon 1921 to 22. In the Kumaon region of Uttarakhand, the peasants started protesting because their rights were over the forest were being taken away by the government. So they refused to cooperate with the forest department. They openly broke the rules of the forest department. They also tried to burn the jungle used by contractors. They refused to do forced labor for the forest department. Because of these movements, the British government had to change its policy in many places. They made their rules less strict. In some areas, they made new laws according to which people from outside could not purchase the land of the Adivasis. So next is Alluri Sitaramaraju. Alluri Sitaramaraju was born on July 4th in 1897 in Pandarangi village in Visakhapatnam district. His mother was from Visakhapatnam and his father was a native of Mogalu near Bhimavaram. His father was an official photographer in the central jail at Rajahmundry. So Raja's father died when he was in school and grew up in the care of his uncle Ramachandra Raju. So after the Madras Forest Act was passed in 1882, it restricted the free movement of tribal people in the forest. They were now stopped from engaging in their traditional Podu agricultural system. Raju led a protest movement in the border area of the East Godavari and Visakhapatnam districts of Andhra Pradesh. Inspired by the patriotic zeal of revolutionaries in Bengal, Raju raided police station in and around Chintapalli. So Rampa Chaudavaram, Damanapalli, Krishna Devi Peta, Raja Umangi, Attatigalu, Narsipatnam and Annavaram. Raju and his followers stole guns and ammunition and killed several British army officers including Scott Coward near Damanapalli. Okay, in December 1922, the British deployed a company of Assam Rifles near Pagadapalli under the leadership of Saunders. Raju had now gone underground. He resurfaced after about 4 months and continued the fight. Many tribal volunteers joined him using bows and arrows under the leadership of Mallu Dora and Gattam Dora. So the British campaign lasted for nearly a year from December 1922. Ramaraju was eventually trapped by the British in the forest of Chintapalli. He was shot dead with a rifle at Koyur village near Mampa village in 7th May 1924. Okay children, till here you will have to read the lesson and write the question answer for first and second question answer. That is, how did people use the forest before the rule of British? Why was there less danger of the forest being fully destroyed in those days? And next is, whom did the Adivasis revolt against? In what ways did they demonstrate their anger and protest? Give some examples. So these two question answers you will have to write in your classwork book, children. First, before writing the classwork, you will have to read the lesson and then write the question answers. So we will continue this lesson in the next session. Till then, write these two answers, take the photo and send it to the school mail ID, children. So we will meet you in the next session. Till then, take care children. Bye.